What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success with myself and Robert Watson. That is our new sponsor, Shade Bros, which is my company. If you would like to get a free quote on exterior, interior shades, please give us a call, 208-99-SHADE. Robert, what is going on?
Good morning. It's funny. I was thinking about our thoughts and actions, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be the best version of ourselves, we need to elevate our thoughts and actions, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because almost the entire debate we have in media and in podcasts and stuff is perpetually focused on the negative.
Uh-huh.
And so, we want to just begin to kind of aim at a little bit of excellence in the way we approach things. If we want excellence, we've got to actually, pursue it
Right.
versus the idea of focusing on the negative, which is what everybody is obsessing about. And, we can't be about stopping things. We've got to be about starting things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
And
amazing. I sit there and I think about that every single day. There are so many things, and we've talked about this, and I feel like we have to revisit this. We have to revisit this over and over again in our mind, because if we don't, then we'll just let that negative stuff just keep going. It's kind of like frost heaves, like in your concrete when you get a little crack and you let a little water in there and it freezes, and then it just makes that crack bigger and bigger and bigger. And we allow whatever that mental thought process is in our brain to just become a bigger crack. And instead
absolutely.
of focusing on the things that we have going for ourselves and the things that we are doing, we focus on the negative stuff, just like you're talking about. It's crazy.
Yeah. I can't, I don't even want to imagine doing some kind of content analysis of media and to see how many negative words versus positive words are being used. And we're such a strange creature because we absorb the negative two times faster than we absorb the positive.
Right.
Just because our whole fight or flight mechanism is to survival. So it's fear that we place the premium on, not, you know, any kind of positive. We place the premium on surviving, which is, what we should avoid versus what we should, go after.
Yeah.
And so it puts us in a disadvantageous place. God, that's easy for me to say.
It's early in the morning. So you think about that, though, too. It's like when you are in the middle of something that is like fight or flight, do you want to get to that point, right? Because fight or flight means basically that you're trying to survive. You're trying not, like, I always think of the bear is chasing you in the woods. Like, you see this grizzly bear and it's coming after you. And now your adrenaline's pumping. You're going crazy. You're just thinking of all these stupid stuff. And you're going 100 miles an hour trying to get away from this thing. And you have a 50-50, well, sometimes a 50-50 chance, but you're going to die. I mean, that's why you're thinking about it. Why should you get to that point? Why should you be fight or flight when someone is teasing you, when someone's telling you you're not good, someone's telling you all this stuff? We have videos on YouTube that get over 1 million views and 3 people comment, and they're all kind of snarky comments, or sometimes they agree with you. But the negative is more than the positive. And I think that a lot of times we just bank on that negative stuff. It's insane. It's like, why do we give it that much? I interviewed a guy named Dave Connery, I don't know, probably 14 episodes into starting this podcast, which we're at like 400 episodes now. And he talked about this thing one time on TikTok, and that's where I met him, which supposedly TikTok was supposed to end yesterday, but it didn't end again. That's a whole nother debate. But he talked about this thing called hater math, and I did an episode on it after I heard him say it, but it was like, if you think about a hateful comment and if you gave it a value, like, so say we're giving it pounds, like weight, okay, so a negative comment weighs 50 pounds. And we give a positive comment of 1 pound. That's kind of how our life is, and that's how we look at things, is where a positive comment gives you less value than a negative comment. And then if you start adding that up all together and you think about how many positive comments you get, because there's usually more positive than there is negative, but we give, say we got 10 positive comments and they weigh 1 pound, and that negative comment weighs 50 pounds. Which one do we give more weight to? Which one do we give more thought to? The negative one, because it weighs more. And so we sit there and we think about that and we add that up together, and our whole life we spend weighing negative shit more than we do positive, and then what happens? It overtakes us.
Yeah, we have a concept in international relations called threat inflation,
Hmm.
meaning to mobilize society, our leaders inflate the threat.
Hmm.
In other words, they tell us what it's worth and what its meaning is and what its value is to get us involved, right? The problem is a lot of times our threat inflation puts us in a position, for example, use the word war. There's a war on drugs, a war on poverty, a war on, come on, what does war mean anymore when you're at war with everything,
Right.
right? So the words become in and of themselves, and people try to say we're going to war and nobody even bats an eye anymore.
Yep.
Why? Because it's been overused and we've gotten to the point where we have this version of threat inflation to the point where when we have a real threat, what do? We kind of stand there
Right.
like, you know, it's been interesting to be my age and to listen to people talk about how difficult times are because they've been told that they're difficult.
Right.
And the reality is, these are not difficult times. Okay. You're not in the middle of a depression. Yes, you do have inflation. Yes, you do. Everybody's struggling a little bit more, but you understand we don't have a dust bowl in the Midwest. Okay, we don't we don't have massive earthquakes happening every. Come on, folks, get real.
Yeah.
This is a little bit of, and so like you said, what we're doing is we're doing this hater math in our head, right? We're carrying around all this threat and all these problems that are inflated instead of looking at the serious issues that you really have. We don't, because we're so, everything in life is so noisy,
Yeah.
and we don't look at the positive. We don't look at the fact that we woke up this morning and we're generally pretty healthy,
Hmm.
right? Our family is fine. We don't have anybody dealing with any major health issues. I mean, when you look around, I went to church on Sunday, right, with my family, and I look around, my family's in really good shape. I don't really have problems. And when I look at somebody that really has a problem, it reminds me to go, you don't have any. Get
Yeah.
real. The
Yep.
stuff you're fretting about doesn't matter. That's that threat inflation, that idea where what you say, hater man, we're obsessed with the negative instead of looking around going, wow, this is pretty cool. This morning I made coffee, right? Instant coffee from Italy.
Hmm.
I don't have problems. Okay. Yeah. I mean, seriously, think about this, right?
Yep.
I have instant coffee from Italy. How big of problems do I really have? Okay.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It's just like you said, that threat inflation is kind of something that I feel like the media tries to do in anything that we do. Like they escalate the situation. And it goes as simple as like you don't see them very often. I know they still make them, but you go into the magazine rack and you pop open, a magazine and you look at what the ideal person is supposed to look like. And so when they show you this picture of the ideal person and then someone tells you that you're ugly, and then you're looking at this ideal person who is not is flawless, right? Because number one, they've probably taken touched up that picture quite a bit. Number two, they put them in a perfect situation. They've made it perfect for who they are. They're telling you what the ideal body type is. They're telling you what this and that, and then you go and you sit there and you start to pick yourself apart. Well, I don't have this and I don't have that, and then next thing you know, you have a shitty outlook on who you are. Same thing with
Mhm.
the regular media. Like if they tell you something, just like if they say it enough times, and I've seen this in both sides, if they say, enough times that someone is a terrible person, then they feel like it becomes truth. And so you start to believe the things that you hear over and over again. And that's what they do. They try to get that number up. So even if you're giving that hater math that weight, like we talked about, you're giving the negative weight to that comment and you've heard it thousands of times, they're inflating that for you. And so you
Yeah.
start to
It's
believe that
funny.
stuff.
Right. I mean, I have this desk, right, that has chipped paint and all this stuff, and I absolutely adore my desk,
Hmm.
right? That is this ragtag little thing. I don't care.
Yeah.
My car is a 2007 Grand Marquis with 60,000 miles on it.
Hmm.
I don't pay anything but insurance every month.
Yeah.
That car is in wonderful position. It starts every time. It's comfortable to drive. what do I care about what people think? I don't.
Yep.
It's I feel blessed. I go out in my car every day and I almost pat my car. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is really cool. Thank you for starting. Thank you for the fact that, you're very dependable. Starts every time. I mean, wow. Again, I can drive down the road and compare, or
Right.
I can say, I've got this wonderful car that gets me from point A to point B that only costs the cost of insurance every month. That's
Yeah.
kind of nice.
Yeah, and I think that that's we sit there and it's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses. Like you can start to realize that what you have. Someone's driving around something newer. They've got a payment. You don't. You know, if the battery goes bad, hey, well, at least I don't. Now I'm only having to buy a $200 battery. I'm not having to go buy a 20. Well, 20 is understatement. Maybe a used car, $20,000 used car. It's insane. No, like those are the things that you have to think about when things go wrong. What is going to make it better? Why is it the way that it is? What can you do to fix that situation? And it's not quite as bad as we always make it seem.
No, and it was funny. I went out on an initial date with a young lady a couple nights ago, and we met for drinks. And I don't drink really, but we met for drinks, and she drove a nice car and all this kind of stuff. And I thought to myself as I walked away, this is not the life I want anymore. This is the old life I had where that stuff mattered to me.
Hmm.
I don't go to the nicest restaurants. Why? Because to be honest with you, the food's good, but the food's not particularly good than my favorite taco joint.
Right.
Okay. Right. And if I had my choice about having a conversation over a glass of wine at a nice restaurant and paying $20 a glass for a wine, or having a cup of coffee at a little diner for $2, I would prefer to have the coffee at a little diner for $2.
Right.
And it's not about the money, but it is about that's just not who I am anymore.
Hmm. Yeah, and I
Just
think
much more grateful.
yeah, and I think your perspective changes. I mean, honestly, like I think that's one of those things. It's like I always thought that my wife and I go out to eat. It's like she wants a steak, and I'm like, why do you want a steak? I can make you a better steak. It's kind of like we can go spend this amount on a steak at the store, and I can cook it for you, and it's going to taste better. But we all sit there and we think, well, that's not as fancy. That's not as cool. That's not the hip thing to do. Like we're going to go, let's go to, I don't know, Ruth Chris is a big steakhouse here and go pay freaking $80 for a steak. And now we feel good about ourselves because we did that.
Well, Ruth Chris started in Houston,
Okay.
so we've had it for quite a while. And to be honest with you, it makes an incredible steak. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Ain't
Yeah.
cheap.
No, exactly. I think it's,
But
Ruth Chris may be different. I never really think about like where you go, but like if you think about if you go out to, I don't know, like say you go buy a steak at like Red Lobster or something. Like I always think about like how it's cooked, right? Like, are they
right.
back there putting it in a freaking frying pan or how are they cooking that thing? And it's like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to barbecue it. And the steak is going to be the best that there ever is because I'm going to throw it on that freaking grill and make it, and unless you go to an actual place that actually cooks it, and I'll tell you the best steak, I can't remember what the restaurant's called, but the best steak I ever had was in Houston. It was pretty damn good.
Where did you have it at?
I can't remember what the hell the place is called, but they called it Texas Wagyu. And I was like, okay, whatever that is.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That
It
would make
was,
sense.
it was fucking good.
Yeah. Oh no, no. Wagyu is that special stuff from Japan. My son, who's the chef,
Hmm.
will tell you about making a wonderful using Wagyu. It's
Yeah.
just the way it's grain fed, the way it's cared for. It's just really special.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But speaking of things, there are times when something is just amazing,
Yeah.
and it is just that, just amazing. Like, especially when you travel, right? You go to a one of a kind place. It's a one of a kind place.
Right.
It's amazing. You're thrilled. A weird little place. Have you ever been to the Continental Divide? Okay, where the top of the Rockies, where you basically it kind of separates between the two places, and it's the one real high point you can kind of pull over, and it's a weird little place where you can kind of pull off the road. You come out of, I think it's called Leadville,
Uh huh.
which is the highest city in the country. Um, you basically pull off to the side and you look and you kind of stare and you realize that when people were trying to cross, right, from the eastern section and they had to cross to the west, that was the Continental Divide. That was the place. And
Hmm.
so it's just one of those kind of places. It's a one of a kind place, kind of like Four Corners, if you
Right.
know what that is, right?
Yep.
Right. You go to Four Corners and you realize you're standing literally in four states
Yep.
at the same time. And that's cool. There's unique places that you go to. But most of the time, it's people trying to make places unique. It's not the fact that they are unique. And so they're really worth the opportunity.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't traveled very much. I do know about Four Corners because, and I've heard the Continental Divide before, but I know about Four Corners because my dad told me about it when my mom and him traveled one time. They actually got to do
Right.
that because you can put 2 feet, you can put 1 foot in one state, 1 foot in the other state, and then you can stick your two hands on the ground and be in one state and be it's like you can totally be in four states at one time. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think it's actually kind of amazing. The first time I flew over it, right,
Hmm.
and I recognized that my plane was technically in four states at the same time, right, because
Right.
my wings were spread, and I was like, wow, that's actually kind of cool. I mean, it wasn't anything topography wise to
Yeah.
write home about, right? But it was kind of neat, and that's where the uniqueness of opportunities. One thing that traveling brings us is uniqueness. I don't know why we compete over cars and houses and stuff
Hmm.
when the really cool stuff is to be in unique places that they're one of a kind, just absolutely amazing, and things that stick with you for the rest of your life. I've had so many expensive cars, right? I don't
Hmm.
remember them.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't go, man, when I had that 2006 BMW, that was amazing. I don't
Right.
remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a quick here and gone type of thing. Um, I mean, I remember I could probably go through a list of all the cars I've owned over the last 30 years, and it's way too many. But I still remember my first vehicle that I ever had. And I still remember what I drove. Like those things are, and you sit there and you go, well, I want that. I wish I had that still, and you kind of forget about that. But it doesn't really matter because no matter what, you have something. And I think that that's the biggest thing is most people don't really realize that they actually have that as something that is positive in their life. The payment
First
that you
car.
have on your vehicle is a positive thing because it gives you the opportunity to do that. Would it be more positive if you had the thing and not the payment? Probably. But you still
Probably.
have something that, can get you from point A to point B and you don't have to sit in your house or sit by yourself or, you're able to go places if you need to.
Yeah, that first car, first girlfriend, but the first car, I had a 72 Buick Skylark, which
Hmm.
is what you guys almost call a muscle car.
Yep.
But the reality is that yes, I remember that. I remember that car, and I remember my second one car very well. But after that, I mean, they all kind of blend together. But you know why it was so important, and you remember because it was the first car.
Yeah.
You're right. We had something to drive. It was the
Yeah.
first car. It was cool.
Gave you that independence that you were looking for. It's funny. Nikki just said that she had a 19 or I don't know if that's hers or her mom's car, but a 1990 powder blue Buick Skylark. So that's crazy.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah.
Yep.
Here's something for you, Nikki. The 72 Buick Skylark. I had the original sticker from the car. It was $2,300 with air conditioning.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, with air
That,
conditioning.
yep. Yeah. That's nothing now. I'll tell you what. I don't know what you could get for $2,300 anymore. That's
And my
amazing.
dad bought it because it had great bumpers because my mom always ran into stuff. Okay. But she didn't run into things hard. It
Right.
was just she had that depth perception thing where she would
Hmm.
bump things, right? And so it had really amazing bumpers. So that was
Yeah.
why my dad thought it was the best choice.
It always amazes me because no matter what, even like back then, like all the technology that they have now, like every vehicle basically comes with a backup camera. And,
Mm-hmm.
um, and this was even like, I don't know, 10 years ago, we had two cars, both had a backup camera and my wife still can back into things with a backup camera. I just think it's amazing. I don't know how
Yeah.
you got to be
Yeah.
pretty talented to be able to do that,
Yeah, I mean, my the mother of my children had that, ability to bump things too. It didn't matter what was going on, right?
Right.
And she would literally come in, and I would go, What's the? Oh, forget it. I didn't even ask after a while because
Yeah.
they were always on the corners, right, of the front
Hmm.
corners and the back corners, and I was like, okay, whatever.
Yep.
Cost of doing business. Thank you very much.
Yep. And it runs in the family. The first vehicle I ever bought from, or second or third, I don't know. I had a '91 Suburban that I bought from her parents at one point, and same thing, just back into pools and back into this, and where did this tent come from? And it was just, it is what it is. So,
Yeah, it is.
yep. Well,
But
great
the positive
conversation.
thing,
Yep. Great conversation this morning, Robert. I mean, I think that that's something that we need to revisit in our own personal lives every single day. What are the positive things in your life, and why do we give that weight of that negativity to, to it? Why do we use that hater math? Let's change that in your life so that you are able to keep moving forward.
absolutely, that gratitude thing, like I said about that first car we had, why
Mhm.
we were so grateful was because it was the first car,
Yep.
right? Why that first girlfriend? Because it was the first girlfriend. And the interesting thing is, if we can just kind of hold on to that gratitude thing and just keep refreshing our perspective.
Yep.
And I think refreshing that perspective will make a huge difference, absolutely huge difference in our lives.
Yep. All righty, everyone. Well, thanks for hanging out. We will catch you on the next one. Until next time. Oh, we got this right in the way. Challenge you to find the shape of your success. Have a great day.
Take care.